Welcome to the Oddity Shop, where the bizarre is always on sale.
Hello, all you oddballs. Welcome back to the Oddity Shop. I am sitting here with Kara, who just finished stuffing her face with Easter candy a few weeks early.
Reese's peanut butter cup. Egg.
Those are some reason, though, like the eggs taste better.
Okay, actually, you want to know what? They don't.
Before she forgets again, I'm Zach.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's because you start talking to me about stuff. No, oddly, I opened the bag thinking I was going to be so excited, and it tasted different, and it doesn't taste the same.
That's really disappointing.
I thought they used to taste better, too, and that's why I put back the regular bag and grabbed the eggs.
The holiday shapes have always tasted better, in my opinion.
I know.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. How are you?
I'm good. Work has been busy this week, keeping me on my toes, but I'm just looking forward to a weekend of, I'll say doing nothing, but it'll all be bathroom remodeling.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're not really doing it, though. I mean, you're doing some of it, yeah, I guess.
I'm demoing the floor starting tomorrow and everything, and the only thing I'm having done is him install the floor. So I'm doing the vanity, the trim, and all the hardware.
Oh, and you're painting? Or is he painting?
Oh, I'm painting too. Yeah, I'm just having him do the floor.
Interesting.
But it's a super good deal.
Okay. I currently only want to talk in a drug commercial voice, and you all will find out soon enough why that is. But I just want to...
I'm just going to put it out there. If podcasting fails for you, you would be wonderful for drug commercials.
Thank you. I don't know. I think that's about it. I feel like I just saw you, so I have nothing to tell you.
Yeah, it was too much time together, honestly.
Well, was it 7 hours or something?
Far too much. All right, should we just get into it then?
Well, I have a question because you yelled at me and then I had to quickly panicky.
Well, I mean, you did start asking me a question every week. I got prepared for it and then you stopped and it made me sad.
Okay. Which one of the following would you rather see? A ghost with no head, a ghost rotating his face 360 degrees, a black misty ghost, or a face with no skin, only a skull? So like if you were just sleeping and you got woken up and those images were your options, what would you prefer to see?
I think I would pick the ghost with no head because while it's jarring, it definitely seems like the least creepy of the things I could wake up to at, 3 a.m.
Yeah, or because a black misty ghost seems evil or something. And I don't want anything rotating its head.
No, that's just way too much before I've had any caffeine for the day.
Skull, yeah. Yeah, I guess I'd probably pick that option too.
Wait, is the headless ghost carrying his head though? Because that could be a little creepy.
I mean, it doesn't say, so no.
I think either way, I'm going to go with the headless.
I think though, now you've changed your mind. If he's holding his head, then maybe not.
I still think it's better than the rotating or skin being ripped away.
Yeah, and then it just... Yeah, I don't know.
Just say I'm right.
I mean, it's just an opinion.
Yeah, but my opinion is usually right.
Whatever.
What do you got this week?
This week, I have the Hex Hallow murder.
The Hex Hallow? Did I hear that right?
Mm-hmm. You've never heard of the Hex Hallow murder?
You got me on one I've never heard of.
So this was one that was on my list of ones that I wanted to do, but I didn't really know about it when I was just searching at one point about things that had popped up. I wrote it down. I didn't really know too much about it. Then I was like, I kind of wanted to do, well, I'm not going to tell you because then it'll give it away. But anyway, yes, Hex Hallow murder.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. November 27th, 1928, Nelson Raymeyer was brutally beaten, murdered, and set on fire in his home. A concerned neighbor eventually discovered his body. It was said that he had a farm, so some of the animals they could tell didn't get fed, so they went to go check. The neighbor looked in the window of the home of the 60-year-old Nelson and saw his beaten corpse on the floor with a rope around his neck. His skull was collapsed in, so it looked like it was fractured. And then there was blood splattered all over the walls, along with the smell of burnt flesh.
Oh, no. Did they light him on fire, too?
I just said the house was set on fire.
Oh, I missed that.
Brutally beaten, murdered, and set on fire.
Gotcha. Okay, with it now. Missed the last part. Terrible way to go. So how did nobody notice the house was on fire, though, if his neighbor had to like check in on him a few days later?
Players hold.
Whole thing.
I'll get there. Okay. 2 days after the murder, 18-year-old Wilbert Hess confessed. His confession was of his own involvement and 2 others involved in the murder, John Blymer and John Curry. So there's a lot of Johns and a Blymer and a Reimer. So I'm just going to Raymer, however we're saying this. So Nelson was murdered.
Got it.
And we're just going to go with Blymer, Curry, and Hess for the others. Okay?
Oh my goodness.
I know. Well, because otherwise there's 2 Johns and then it's confusing.
Yeah.
All right. I need you to pretend like you're Paul Holes. Why did this collection of men kill Nelson? Oh, actually, I forgot to tell you. So Hess is 18, Blymer is 33, and Curry is 14. Nelson is 60. So it's very much a collection of sporadic ages. So
Okay, so a bunch of people who wouldn't hang out together.
Can you
normally.
do Paul Holes' voice, please?
Absolutely not. I'm not even going to try.
This is Paul Holes.
I don't have the voice nor the looks.
Oh, Paul Holes.
Okay. 4
what
people
is it?
of different ages.
Hot for holes. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Hashtag.
They brutally murder him, so they've got to be upset about something. And he has farm animals. This is all that I know. So why did they murder him? He owed them money for farm animals.
Wrong.
Damn.
You're not Paul Holes.
I did my best. I have very limited information. I feel like Paul would at least have Google.
No, Paul's brilliant. Okay. Have you heard of Pow-Wowing?
Like that Indians do?
No, you have not.
No.
It's a magico-religious practice with the purpose of healing physical ailments. Is that how you say it? Ailments?
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 Yeah, ailments. I should have just kept going and not even asked. Ailments in humans and animals, livestock, mostly. This includes protection from physical and spiritual harm, good luck, good health, or fixing your health, and revealing hidden information. This has been practiced since the first German-speaking settlements were established in Pennsylvania in the 18th century. So even though powwow is Native American, these ritual traditions are European origin. So a lot of powwowing...
Oh, really?
Well, this practice, yeah. So a lot of powwowing is compared or considered witchcraft. So if you're a powwower, it's not witchcraft. It's completely different, but it's compared to witchcraft.
Do you know, did they call it powwowing before the Native Americans called things powwow, or do they like take the name after?
It stems from a German word that I can't say, so I didn't even put it in here, but okay. I don't think anyone really stole it. It's just branched off of like different verbiage, if that makes sense. So those that practice or practiced, not too many people still practice anymore, but there are some, they believe that powwowing is meant for good, to heal, to protect, whereas witches and witchcraft is for self-serving and to get revenge or discord. So they're very they are not witches. They do not do witchcraft. It is powwowing.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you meet a powwower, don't tell them that they're a witch. They will kill you.
Not if I burn them first.
Right, even though they say they're right for good. Anyway, powwowing mainly uses the Bible and a book called The Long Lost Friend, which is a collection of recipes, spells, and procedures, most of them involving some sort of supernatural power. And this was written by John George Homan in 1819. So those are pretty much the 2 main things that they use as their guides, if you will, the Bible and this Long Lost Friend book.
Having a book called The Long Lost Friend, for some reason, just really gives me culty vibes. It's
really weird. Researching all of this, though, did not get culty vibes from it, only because not a lot of people were involved in it. It's not like everybody was roped into this. It was almost shunned.
Okay.
Okay, so let's circle back to Nelson. Remember, he's the one that got murdered. So Nelson Raymeyer was a local potato farmer. He was described kind of as a hermit. He was a socialist. He wasn't really described badly, but some people just didn't like his practice. They didn't like his politics, things like that. But nobody really said he was a bad person. He wasn't mean or anything, kind of kept to himself. He lived in a small house alone in what was called Hex Hallow, And this is due to basically like this hollow that they call it, just had a bunch of their houses spread out for the Raymeyer family. Like it was a collection of the family kind of lived about. Like they weren't all really close, but they were all like in what's called Raymeyer Hallow. Goodness gracious.
Have another sip of wine. Words will become even easier.
Oh my God. Lord have mercy. He lived in a small house alone in what was called the Lord. You jinxed me because you're in your vibes. His wife and 2 daughters lived in a separate house that was up the hill. Okay. They didn't agree with the lifestyle and his obsession with magic. That's kind of why they moved out. I did watch a documentary, which I don't ever watch docs, but I did watch it. It was on Tubi. It's called Hex Hallow. And like his family members, some that are still alive that were like young, said that it was like just weird because he would drop his laundry off at the hill. His wife would still do it and then like have it done for him. But like they didn't really have, that was it.
Was he a witch or a pow-wower?
He was a pow-wower. Let me get there.
Okay. Well, he said he was doing magic. I needed to know.
Well, no, I said he was obsessed with magic.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Nelson was known to be a practicing pow-wower or a pow-wow practitioner.
There it is.
A doctor to a lot. So a lot of people actually believed that you were a doctor. So like I said, this is kind of why his wife and daughters moved out though, because he was obsessed with this and people were always coming in and out needing to be seen all hours of the night. They weren't having it.
I'm sorry, but a potato farmer is probably the last person I'm going to go to with my ailments.
But he had been practicing pow-wowing since he was a child. What does it matter what you do on... Hello, somebody could be like, sir, you have a creepy podcast. I'm not going to you for real estate advice. And you'd be like, you're dumb.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between starting a podcast and a medical practice.
Do you feel the most powerful and beautiful with the elements of the earth around you? Do you like one-of-a-kind jewelry? Do you sometimes feel like a woodland fairy? Me too. That's why I created Holly and Hemlock, a magical shop filled with handmade wooden jewelry and metaphysical tools. Come check out our enchanting wooden wares at www.hollyhemlock.com and join us in honoring the magic and beauty of nature with each unique creation. That's www.hollyhemlock.com.
No fucking medical practice. He's just like, woo. Don't come for me, pow-wowers. Okay, so it could be dangerous practicing because of what others thought of it. Like I said, it wasn't really practiced by many, if you will. And at this point, it was only 150 years prior that the Salem witch trials happened. So you have to think that people are still, what's the dang word? Associating this with witchcraft, whether, whatever, is it or isn't it? I don't freaking know.
Like it's still fresh enough in their minds.
Correct. And then, mental health wasn't a thing at all. I mean, still people think it's not a thing at all, but, whatever. But back then it really wasn't. So if you did have those kinds of issues or things like that, you would go see a pow-wower for help. But so then in return, being a pow-wower, you're helping crazy people. I have air quotes. And then you're already seemingly crazy for being a pow-wower. So it just wasn't really a good situation to put yourself in. So you must have really wanted to do it. Like you really are trying to help people if you're a pow-wower.
Like you believed in your own mission
correct.
enough to try to help people. Got it.
Right. And like I said, they believe that it is solely for the purpose of helping and providing for the community and things like that. They're not trying to do it for anything for themselves or anything like that. It's to truly help everybody else. Okay, so sadly, Nelson was pretty much told by his family, like some of his family, like his wife and children, you need to stop this for your own good. But he had been doing this since he was young, so he just wasn't going to accept those warnings. Okay, so that's kind of Nelson. So now we're going to talk about John Blymeyer. So we're just going to call him Blymeyer. Okay?
Please do.
I'm trying to make this so not confusing. Blymeyer was said to be down on his luck. His wife had left him. He lost 2 children and he couldn't keep a job. He was really struggling. He was described as not having a very high IQ, or now looking into it, he could have had some undiagnosed mental illnesses, which could attribute to all of that.
Why not both?
Well, yeah. Because he was riddled with such misfortune, instead of looking within, Blymeyer was convinced that he had a hex put on him. He was also a practicing pow-wower. He was kind of into it. So he believed that somebody had hexed him because of all his bad luck.
So do Pow-Wowers believe that another Pow-Wower would have hexed them, or would have this been a legit witch?
I think that they would have maybe thought that it was a witch because I don't know. I guess
because Pow-Wowers only do good,
but they're supposed to only do good.
Okay, but they have
the
capacity for evil.
Yes. Yeah. Well, just like witches. I mean, you could be a good witch. Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
I knew that was coming.
Okay, so funny we say. Blymeyer then sought out the advice of the River Witch of Marietta.
I love her already.
Nellie Knoll. Nellie had a damaging reputation.
And a perfect witchy name.
Nellie Knoll. I didn't put her age in here because it was like so many different things said so many, but I gathered she was pretty old. Some say that she was in her 90s when she went here, but some were like 70s. I don't really know, but she was an older witch with a wonderful reputation of being a witch. Okay, so Nellie believing Blymeyer or feeding into his obsession, I don't really know, whichever way you want to see it. She said that she could see that there was a hex or a curse that was placed on him, causing bad luck, bad health, misfortune. So remember, he lost 2 children. His wife left him. He can't keep a job. So he is extremely desperate. So he already thinks he's cursed. He goes to this wonderful Nellie Knoll and she's like, yep, I see it. You're hexed. And so he's like, I knew it.
Did she confirm what he was hexed with, or just said, you're hexed?
Well, she claimed to be able to show him who placed the hex. And this was done when she placed a single dollar bill on his palm and declared that when she removes it, or like when it's removed from his palm, the key to all his problems will be revealed.
Seems like a really good scheme for her to get some dollars.
Right. Well, I don't know if it was his dollar or her dollar. I bet it was his. Okay, so once the bill was removed, Blymeyer believed that he saw Nelson Raymeyer's face. And Nellie agreed, yes, it's Nelson. So she says, yep, you're correct, it's Nelson. But at first, Blymeyer didn't want to believe this, that the involvement of his hex was from Nelson. Blymeyer didn't want to believe Nelson's involvement because when he was 5, he had been suffering from something called apnema, which was basically a wasting condition that was believed to be brought on by a hex, but it was basically just malnutrition. But Nelson had cured him of this. I don't know how, but he did. And then when Blymeyer turned 10, Nelson hired him to dig potatoes for 25 cents a day on his farm. So he's like, I don't want to believe that this is Nelson because he saved my life when I was 5 and he gave me a job when I was 10. Like, why?
Well, they probably all just have malnutrition from just eating potatoes.
Well, I don't know if he was eating potatoes, but anyway, it wasn't a damn hex. It was malnutrition.
Right.
It is what it is. But Nellie told him, no, it's Nelson. She's like, it's true. And then she said, you need to look back at the bill, the dollar bill, and stare at Washington's face. This is where he said that the face dissolved and it turned into Nelson's face. So he's saying he saw this twice, but no. It's like when you stare into the mirror long enough, you see weird things. Like if you're trying to see Nelson's face in the dollar bill, you're going to see it.
Right.
Okay. All right. So Miss Nellie Knoll explained that to break the curse, you need to steal Nelson's copy of The Long Lost Friend or his book, whatever he uses. But it was probably The Long Lost Friend. Remove a lock of his hair and then bury both of those items 6 to 8 feet underground. Seems pretty simple.
Except for the whole 6-foot thing.
Well, then he could pay somebody to dig it for him. Who cares? That seems pretty simple. Take the book, take some of his hair, bury it. The curse will be done. Hex, curse, whatever. Okay. So even though Nelson was 60, he was 6'2". So he's very big, especially for that time period.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people were really short.
Yes, he's a very large man. And he was very strong because he's a farmer. So he was 60, but he was very healthy. He was strong. And he was also said to be very magically strong because he's a Pow-Wower.
Ooh.
Okay. This led Blymeyer to recruit Curry to help him get these items. Okay. On the 26th, Blymeyer and Curry drive to Nelson's wife's house. They knock on the door. They ask his whereabouts. She said, I don't know. He should be at home. down the road, down the hollow. Cool, whatever. So they get there, they knock on the door. Nelson lets them in. He offers them a drink. They start talking about the community, farming, practicing, all this stuff. It starts to get really late, and Nelson offered them to stay the night, as he would kind of do when guests came over. He's very polite, he's very friendly, whatever, stay the night. So they left the next morning after breakfast. Okay. The pair, though, decided that this was going to take more than just them to take down Nelson in order to accomplish these tasks. Like, he's a very big man. They're like, I don't really know if we can do this.
Why not just take the hair in the book while he was sleeping?
Well, remember, his IQ is not very good.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that part for a second. Like, they could have accomplished this night one.
Yeah,
with
I
much
know.
less skull bashing and house burning, but...
Right. Okay. So... Blymeyer then asked Wilbert Hess's mother if he could basically borrow him to subdue Nelson to break the curse. And she thought that this was very important to break this curse, so she allowed her son to miss work for the day to help them. So now we have, what is he?
My mom never let me skip school to go, break a hex. What the heck?
So now we have Blymeyer, who's 33. He has Curry, who is 14. So they're like, yeah, no, we can't do this ourselves. And then they go and they get 18-year-old Hess to help with mom's permission. Okay. So on the evening of the 27th, around 11:30, supplied with sticks and 25 feet of rope, they head back to the hollow. So they're knocking on the door, waking up Nelson. So it's a small 2-story. So he opens up his shutters. They said it was kind of thing that he did, like anyone that came in, he would open up his shutters, look out his bedroom window. He was like, who's there? Blymeyer was like, hey, it's me again. We left something when we stayed over last night. So he's like, okay. So he lets them in. So they start looking around because they're pretending that they left something. And at one point, one of them just says, we need your book. Give us your book. And he's very confused. He's like, what are you talking about? So it's kind of like he didn't want to give up. Like it was said that either he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have that book. Or he was just like really confused. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But also you're not supposed to give up your book apparently. So he probably has it hidden.
His whole medical practice would be down the drain.
All right. So apparently Nelson was kind of bent over and he was putting logs in the fire because he's still being polite to these people. Like he's lighting the fire. So it goes that Blymeyer said, get him, as he was like putting the wood on the fire, and then a fight, kind of a, argument thing broke out. So allegedly Blymeyer broke a kitchen chair over his back and Curry smashed him in the head with a block of wood. The blow broke through his skull and caused hemorrhaging in his brain. So they weren't sure that he was dead though, so they tied a rope around his neck and they were kind of starting to choke him, but then they were basically like, I think he's dead, like we're done. So they stopped.
I think they were done when they hit him with the chair. Things escalated so quick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard because if you do watch the documentary, it's all their family members that are telling this. And so it's like...
When was this again?
Well, extended family and stuff like that.
Okay. Got it.
You know what I mean? So, but it's all their like family members. And, the one kid was only 14 years old. So people are still alive that know him.
Oh, yeah.
So it's wild. So they kind of ransack the house, unable to retrieve the spell book. They proceed to douse the body with kerosene and set it ablaze. Thinking that this curse or hex was lifted and all the evidence of the crime was going to be destroyed, Blymeyer and the boys leave.
And they go back to their diet of all potatoes.
Well, this just doesn't make sense to me because you didn't follow any of the instructions. All you did was murder somebody, which was not even part of the plan. Like, you weren't even supposed to murder him.
Did they at least take some hair?
No, I don't think so.
These guys are the worst Pow-Wowers I've ever heard of, and I've only heard of Pow-Wowers like an hour
Well,
ago.
let me clarify. Nelson is the main Pow-Wower. Blymeyer was just kind of practicing. I don't think he was really good at it.
Obviously. Okay,
so apparently when they looked back at the house, though, they said that they thought they saw Nelson like walking around. So people think that he wasn't actually dead and he was trying to stop the fire, or that it was part of the witchcrafty Pow-Wowing, like, I don't know. People don't understand. But strangely, the house and Nelson didn't burn. It just smoldered for a while. This resulted in more belief of how powerful Nelson was. The house is actually still standing there and his relatives still own it.
Yeah, I guess too, because if they straight up doused him with kerosene and his whole body doesn't just go up in smoke, like.
So I didn't write this in here, but his like great nephew, I think, is one of the people in the doc. He was explaining that I guess the floorboards like broke in. And there was a beam, and his body fell on the beam. And there was like a potato sack that also had fallen first. So this potato sack fell. His body is strewn across this beam, and all the blood and all his fluids of his body are actually dousing the fire along with the potatoes putting out the fire. So that's kind of the more logical reason that the house didn't catch more on fire and that his body didn't but I don't know. It's still kind of weird.
God, if he had been 10% more lucky, he would have survived.
Right? But your brain hemorrhaging, I don't know what you're I don't know what you are if you survive that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that just the house not really catching on fire and his body still being just kind of charred is like one of the things that they're like, oh my God, he was even powerful in death.
Interesting.
You're most likely, if you were like me, like, why would these teens be okay with doing this? They knew. Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. Like, it makes sense.
That was the first thing. I was like, I don't understand.
Blymeyer, right? Blymeyer to do it because he thinks there's a hex. But what's with the other two?
So the teens knew Blymeyer from work and family. So what's sad is that they're obviously young. So they're kind of impressionable, but they both came from unstable homes, unstable lives. Curry worked with Blymeyer and was also treated by him, feeling indebted to him. So he, like I said, he was a Pow-Wower as well. So he treated him from some stuff. So he kind of felt indebted to him to help him. And Hess's family was having terrible luck with health and livestock, leading Blymeyer to tell them that they were also cursed. So fueling the fire that Nelson did all this. And that's why she was so willing to borrow out her child to go help retrieve this stuff to stop the curse.
Because she thinks her kiddo is cursed too.
Correct. So the one kid has no father, like whatever, not in the picture. So you get saved by this man. You're like, cool, I'm down. I'll help you out. I'm just stealing a book and some hair. And then she's like, yeah, you can borrow my 14-year-old or 18-year-old, whatever he was. You can borrow him.
Just stealing a book and some hair.
Yep.
Typical Friday night.
So that is the very unsettling and unbelievable reason as to why Nelson Rehmeyer was murdered.
So obviously, if we're telling the story, like the people who did the murdering were caught. Do we know how they were caught?
Yeah, I told you he confessed.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Wow.
So
it didn't take long.
No, it was like 2 days he confessed. Well, one of them confessed. It's wild though, because they all they served their time. And the two young boys, I don't remember how much years. I think they were sentenced to 10 years. I don't remember if they served all of them, but then they went on to kind of just live pretty basic, normal lives as best they could. And everybody was like, we just can't believe that they were a part of this. But it just goes to show you that like when you believe in something and you're so young and impressionable, like they just thought that they were going to help. Like they just didn't. Now, the one did hit him in the head with a thing, but I don't think he meant to kill him. They were just trying to like subdue him and steal what they needed.
I think too, like that whole group think plays a part in it. Like any one of them probably separately weren't going to be killers, but now you've got three people who have this mindset, right? And they have a goal to achieve. So you're going to act differently based on.
Right. And Blymeyer was like obsessed with figuring this out, right? So he truly, truly believes it. He gets validated by Nellie Knoll, and so that's like, oh my God, this is true, right? So then he has these two kids that are just young and they're just going to believe him because he's older and cool and whatever. So then you're like, they're validating you as well. So then you're really believing in this. So it probably wasn't hard for him to talk all of these people into believing this.
So did Nellie ever face any charges or anything? Because I feel like this all kind of stems from her. I mean, she's just taking their dollars and telling them whose hair to steal.
Yeah, it was really kind of hard to find any information on her because when you like search her, it just pops up with this Hex Hallow murder. But probably not, because what is she going to be like? I didn't say go kill him. I said just get his hair in his book.
They definitely took some liberties.
Murder was never part of that. But isn't that crazy? Like it's like that. And the wildest part to me is that everyone was like, there was no reason to put a hex on Blymeyer though. Like it doesn't make sense.
No, it's just like a past employee.
So why But like a family friend, really. Like, so why would you even believe that he put a hex on you? There was no valid reason. Actually, there was no reason. Not one.
Okay, you probably said this at the beginning and I didn't listen well enough, but where is Hex Hallow again? What state is it?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. I could see Pennsylvanians doing that.
But it's like...
No hate if you're from Pennsylvania. I'm sorry.
It's where my cousins live. I just don't... I don't know. You'd really have to be like, he's doing some witchcraft. He's he's out to get all these people. He's out to get me because this, and this, and this. Like, I'm not just going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yep, Nelly, that makes sense. It's Nelson. Like that, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's kind of quite a stretch.
But yeah, I was confused because I've never heard of Pow-Wowing, and I've never, no. Mm-mm.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of Pow-Wowing before today either. I'm going to definitely have to look into that one a little bit more.
Well, I think you can get a copy of The Long Lost Friend. I think it's really hard it says really hard to find, but I think you can get
I don't want a copy of it. Somebody's going to come try to get my hair and book and light my house on fire. I'm good. I'll stick with my crystals and my manifestation, all right?
Yeah, if you watch the doc, there's like a current Pow-Wower, and he's fairly young. I mean, like, I think he's probably like in his 40s, but like, he's a Pow-Wower. He was like writing some stuff on a piece of paper as like a good luck charm to give somebody, and he like had it all folded up, and I was like, ooh, let me look at that real quick. Pause, and I was going to try to rewrite it. Like, it was like you could take when you travel. Like, ooh, give me that.
There you go.
Find me a Pow-Wower.
I'll stick with my rocks.
But anyway, so I was looking for what I was going to tell you in the beginning, but I didn't want to spoil it. Is I was like, oh, I want to do something with like witchcraft or something. And then I was going through my list. I'm like, oh, what the hell is Hex Hallow again? And then I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of like witchcraft. It's Pow-Wowing. It's cool. Whatever. So that brought me back to this.
Definitely interesting. Good job as always.
I don't think I did a good job today. I'm just letting you all know. I'm sorry. I stuttered a lot. I don't know what my problem was. I was having some difficulties. I think someone put a hex on me.
It was me.
Your
but
face
I'm going to
like...
unhex you because most of these people aren't even going to hear half of that because I'm going to edit you. So you're in good hands. We'll leave some stuttering in there.
You know what? My mama cabbage isn't helping me. I think she's making it worse. But she's cute.
You haven't given her time yet. All right. So speaking of crystals and manifestation, though, what are you manifesting this week?
I can't say it out loud.
Fair enough.
What are you manifesting?
Just peace and positivity and just trying to keep my mindset right.
Yeah, I'll go with that too.
Setting some intentions before bed, which is crazy how much that just helps my mood the next day.
I mean, you don't drive to work, but I usually do it on my drive to work, and that really helps too. But yeah, I guess before bed would be a really good one too.
I just give it to the unconscious mind before bed and wake up and let it work its magic. I'm
manifesting that Paul Holes will listen to this.
Oh, so he can see the shoddy job I did impersonating him?
You didn't, and I did. This is Paul Holes. Wait, will we get copyrighted or something if I Google his voice?
Go online and look up his
Paul
voice.
Holes. I can't do it. Look at his face.
Yeah,
Hot for holes.
Definitely pull up a video.
Hashtag hot for holes.
Let's let Paul Holes go. Let's let these people go. Appreciate you listening as always. Just a reminder, we are just a few stories away from having our first bonus episode. So anything you want to write in about, if you know a Pow-Wower. Why are we doing Blue's Clues again?
No, that was supposed to be like the...
Okay, well, Kara's going to keep making noises. Kara, lead us out.
Do all the things that we always ask you to do. I'm manifesting that you'll do all the things that I always ask you to do.
There we go.
And with that, creep it real, Godballs.
Goodbye.
Bye.